Hello to all you beautiful bastards out there. Regnilla over here giving you another episode of Monster Hunter Free Night. We are doing another new monster today. This time around, we are doing the Lavasioth. This is a G rank monster that is very closely related to the Plesioth. So yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. You know, you have something that is related to a monster that is ungodly broken. In terms of hitboxes. Based on time, I did speed this footage up by about 25%, so that's why things are going to be looking a little bit faster than usual, because this fight can take you a while. This is one of the few times where I had a monster that is, well, it's on par with me, so this is actually a challenge for me. And before we get started in with the fight itself, I just want to point out that this is a volcano zone, so make sure you bring some cool drinks with you because it's hot as balls out here. And the other thing is that when I spawned in to a secret or hidden area, which can only occur in high and G rank quests. Unfortunately, I did not have a pickaxe or a bug net with me, so I didn't even bother getting anything. Okay, so this is what we're looking at here in terms of the Lavasioth. So he's going to hang out in areas 9 and 10. He won't go anywhere else. 9 is a little bit more dangerous for him to be in, or well, for you to take on while he's in area 9, because there is a pool of lava that he could just jump into and cause these bits of magma to fall from the sky. So it's kind of annoying if you get hit by it, but thankfully it has a limited range. So he's going to start off trying to get the jump on you, which thankfully that won't work in this case. But just based on looks, you can tell this monster is related to the Plesioth, and man, just the thought of this monster being related to something that bad is kind of scary. But there is kind of a splash of Gravios to this monster, because A, he has a breath attack, and B, he can fling his tail back and forth a lot of times after a charge. So he kind of has that in relation to the Gravios as well as the Pisarios by default. And throughout this particular video, you will see that I try to use flash bombs on this guy, mainly just to test to see if they work. I don't face this monster all that often, but I can assure you with certainty that this guy is immune to flash bombs. So there's going to be a couple more times where I try to hit him with a flash bomb, but it's not going to work. So yeah, don't bother with flash bombs. It will probably be the death of you. And speaking of which, with this monster, he has a tendency to try to track you down. So you might have seen when he was using his magma blast or his magma breath attack, he actually tracked where I was headed. So that was pretty cool. And he does the same thing whenever he does a charge. Now he typically does this in rage mode. I don't think he does this when he's not in rage mode, but he will try to do a U-turn and take another chunk out of you. So whenever this guy flops onto the ground and does that, always assume that he's going to do a U-turn. Because if you don't, you're probably going to get hit, and it's not going to be good. It's just going to be bad. And here's another thing that's really interesting. He just flops like a fish, and he'll do this anywhere between 1 to 3 times, I've found. And it does quite a bit of damage. In fact, this might be his most damaging move. I'm not 100% sure on that because I tried, well, not getting hit by this monster, but it does quite a bit. And his hitbox is broken. I wouldn't say as broken as the Plesioth though, because man, I don't think anything can compete with the Plesioth hitbox. But to kind of counteract this, the Lavasioth is, I want to say, quite a bit bigger. I mean, look at the size of this monstrosity. And so I got the wiki page for this monster open, so let's read off a few things, a few fun facts about the Lavasioth. So the first thing is, alongside Hypnocatrice, Lavasioth is one of only 2 monsters introduced in Monster Hunter Frontier to have been officially introduced into the main series. And so by extension of this, it is also one of the only Frontier monsters to have its name officially localized to English. Lavasioth features some minor differences between Monster Hunter Frontier and Monster Hunter Free Unite. In general, the shape of its head is much more rounded and bulbous in Frontier, while in Free Unite, it is narrower with a sharper point on the snout. This is most likely due to the fact that Frontier Lavasioth was made on a different engine, and the monster would have had to be remodeled from scratch for Free Unite. In Frontier, Lavasioth will perform the same roar animations before its sliding maneuver as Diablos, Basarios, Monoblos, or Gravios before their charge attacks. In Free Unite, Lavasioth will enter a lava pool in Area 10 of the volcano and launch sets of 3 fireballs by jumping in and out of them. Let's see, I believe that was the case here, but I think it's in Area 9? My eyes are away from my video screen here. Oh, okay, so it's actually in Area 9. So in Free Unite, this last tidbit might be inaccurate, but I'll have to double check on that. Its head and back fins are breakable. Lavasioth is weakest to cutting damage on the stomach and impact damage on the back. It's easy to notice when it's weak enough to capture. The layer of flowing lava on its body will disappear. So you'll probably see, if you look at the top of him right now, got that nice kind of reddish aura, which is supposed to be lava, just kind of flowing down from his back. Like the Plesioth, the areas it's limited, so it will move between 9 and 10. And it can chain up to 4 body slams, most often when it is in rage mode. Okay, so I said earlier it is between 1 to 3 times. So I've never seen him do it 4 times, which, okay, that I guess that is a possibility now. Its hit check is blockable. With blocking, even with Guard 2+, there will be a little bit of chip damage. And I believe there's one more tidbit for Free Unite in the video. Magma Swiving Wyvern. An Apsaros dies when Lavasioth shoots its Molten Rock, and a Vespoid dies when it's hit by a Tail Swipe, but in game, the Apsaros and Vespoid will not die as easily as it will in the video. So the videos for these these ecologies are a little bit inaccurate when it translates to direct gameplay. But something to keep in mind, and something I was doing a lot of research on, was what really matters when going after monsters in this series. So, like, I'm using my trusty Last Galactic Flame, but this monster is weak to water-based attacks, and I kept trying to look up, is elemental damage really that important? So I did the I think it was the Acantor, or I might have been looking up information for the Eukonlos fight that I will eventually get to. And I wanted to figure out how, what sort of difference does elemental damage make? And apparently it's not that much. It doesn't make that big of a difference. So when I go and I fight some of these stronger monsters later on, I might be using a neutral damage weapon just strictly for its attack power. And actually, now that I think about it, the reason why I figured this out was I was facing off against a Silver Rathalos to try to upgrade one of my swords, and I was using a thunder-based weapon to attempt to do more damage to it, but it was taking me longer in order to kill. Now, my thunder-based weapon isn't as strong with neutral damage as it is with the Last Galactic Flame, so that's what kind of prompted me looking up whether or not elemental damage did that much. And I went after the Silver Rathalos again with the Last Galactic Flame, and it went down quite a bit faster. So in actuality, elemental damage doesn't mean that much in this game, it looks like, which is very unfortunate, because elemental damage would really be a game changer towards monsters that are particularly strong. So like the Lavasioth, its weakness is obviously water. But apparently, you know, water-based attacks aren't going to mean a whole lot in the long run. Unless maybe if you were running in a gunner set, maybe it would. But speaking of armor sets, so let's go over the armor sets that I have open right now, because, you know, why not? For this, I'm going to go over two different types of armor sets. I'm going to go over the Blade Master as well as the Gunner armor sets. Starting with the Blade Master, it is the Lava X armor. And you're going to be looking at an initial defense of 460, a max defense of 560, with fire resistance at 20, water resistance at -15, ice resistance and thunder resistance both at 0, and dragon resistance at 5. And you'll have 10 total slots to play with. So to add on to these skills, which is terrain damage negate, which if you're ever on like lava edge or something, the lava's edge or something like that, you will take a bunch of damage because you're just too close to lava. It's too hot for even your armor to take. So that will take away that effect from the terrain. There's focus, which allows for a sharper or a faster increase in gauges. So hammers, long swords, great swords, they charge up a lot faster. Then there's guts, which according to the wiki is if you are hit by an attack that while you have between 60 to 70% of your maximum HP and it's supposed to be a one-shot, it will leave you with 1 health left. And then combine success -5, which is pretty self-explanatory, which you can gem out easily. It's kind of negligible. It's only 5%, so yeah, it's not that bad. Here's where we get into the Gunner set. Now, this is one of those cases where the wiki is not exactly complete, so that's not good. But in terms of resistances, we're going to get into something way different here. So I only have an initial defense for this armor set, which is 230, but the resistances is where things get wild. So your fire resistance is going to be 25, your water resistance is going to be -5, and then you'll have a resistance in 10 in thunder, ice, and dragon. So I never touched base on this when I was talking about armor sets, but Gunner armor sets are way better in terms of elemental resistance. Now, going back into what I was saying with elemental damage, it might not make a difference in the long run, but in the case of armor sets, it might. I haven't really went ahead and tested that out. I'm not exactly keen on standing in front of a Rathalos' Fire Blast just to test how good fire resistance is going to be on the armor set that I'm wearing. But that's about it for the fun facts with the Lavasioth. Behavior-wise, he's way more like a Plesioth than you think. He has that hip check. He will swim forward to try to get you. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a sprinkle of the Basarios and Gravios here and there. And another thing I noticed, and I think the Lavasioth, if you ever trip him, it will last a little bit longer as opposed to the Plesioth. When he goes into rage mode, he will freeze for a period of time. So you might have noticed a few times when I'm just taking shots at his legs, he will just freeze and he will just look around. Well, that's the indication that he's going into rage mode. I believe the Plesioth does the same thing. So if they freeze like that, see, there he goes again. Yeah, just watch out. And something, I wouldn't say that it is a definitive way to avoid it, but I find that staying closer to his head whenever he does a hip check will increase your odds at not getting hit. Like, you really want to stay away from the body from the hip check, but you really also want to stay away from that tail, because I think the tail has really screws with the hitbox. But if you try to go, let's say, in front of the head, so let's say he is perpendicular to you and you scroll more towards the direction that his head is facing, you're more likely to avoid the attack than if you tried to, you know, roll right through it. Because I don't think it's just a matter of the hitbox being bigger. I'm thinking that the hitbox is lasting longer too, so that's never a good thing. And here's a fun fact. When going over to Area 9 to confront the Lavasioth, I noticed that as I was passing into the area right next to it, there are explodable rocks. So yeah, those rocks, they're completely worthless because this monster will not go outside of 9 and 10. It's just, you know, why would it? And the only reason why it would even be in these particular areas is because I think it's the only areas where there is a river of lava that is right next to the ground. So it's the only place where you can really get out, which actually is kind of a good thing, because I don't want to go around trying to figure out where this monster keeps ending up at. But then again, there is one of those hot air balloons that is very clearly visible in this area. So if you ever lose track of this monster for whatever reason, and heaven forbid you don't, yeah, you could just figure out where it's off to all that easily. I believe the rarest item that you can get off the Lavasioth is a big Wyvern stone, and in fact, I believe at the end of this quest I did get one, so that was pretty cool. And if you look very carefully, he's in that little lava pool right now, so it's a little bit harder to see, but the lava that's flowing from his back is gone now, so this monster is about ready to go and die. So yay, just a few more blows should do it. Yeah, this is one of those cases where, you know, you're waiting on the monster to just give up and die, but he just won't. Kind of makes me wonder how lava monsters like this can stay alive for so long for, well, being in lava. And you can obviously see where the gills are supposed to be near the head. And thinking, that lava should be flowing inside this monster's body. It should be cooking like a potato at this point. Well, yeah, that's basically the Lavasioth for you. He is going to be a big challenge for you in G rank. So yeah, best be prepared when you go and face this guy in battle. But that's going to do it for me in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in any of my other content, be sure to hit on one of those annotations that'll be featured at the end of this video. And if you want to support the channel, subscribing is a great help. But until next time, take care, people.